All right, welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of the toughest parts of writing, how to take that huge, messy topic and turn it into a sharp, focused, and honestly, a really powerful argument. Let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? You've got your assignment, you've got a mountain of articles and books, and you're just lost. You're swimming in a sea of information, and it feels totally overwhelming. So where do you even begin?
Well, here's the thing. The way out of that chaos isn't about finding more stuff. The real solution is to craft a tool that brings some order to all the information you already have. And that amazing tool is the right research question. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why starting with a question is so absolutely crucial. Then, we'll get into how to craft a really good one, how to answer it with a thesis, how to make that thesis rock solid, and finally, how to use it to guide every single word you write.
Okay, let's dive right into part one, starting with a question. I want you to think of this like building a compass before you step into the huge wilderness of your research. It's that important.
So, what exactly is a research question? Well, it's the one central question that your entire paper is built to answer. It's not just your topic, like bees. It's a very specific, focused question about bees that will guide every single choice you make.
And this, right here, is its superpower. A good question acts like a filter. As you're digging through sources, you can keep asking yourself, does this actually help me answer my question? If it does, great, keep it. If not, you can confidently put it aside. It's what keeps you from falling down those endless internet rabbit holes.
Okay, so you know you need a question, but just having any old question isn't enough. We have to move on to crafting a good one. This is about moving past simple facts and sparking a genuine inquiry. Okay, look at this. This shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got, do raccoons hibernate? The answer is just no. Paper's over, right? But look at the one on the right about George Washington. You can't answer that with a simple yes or no. It demands that you look at evidence, interpret it. It opens up space for a real argument. And see, that's what a great question unlocks for you. It forces you to actually analyze details, to synthesize different pieces of information, to explain things, and most importantly, to make an argument backed up by evidence. It gives you something to really dig into and write about.
All right, so you've nailed down this awesome question. What's next? Well, the next logical step is to propose an answer. And that brings us to part 3, answering with a thesis. This is where we turn that question into a confident statement.
Simply put, a thesis statement is your answer to that research question you just worked so hard on. It's the main claim, the core argument, the one big idea that you're going to spend the rest of your paper proving to your reader.
It really is that simple. Think of it like a conversation. Your research question asks the question, and your thesis statement steps up and gives the answer. They're a perfect pair, two sides of the same coin.
But again, just having any answer isn't the goal. We need to focus on building a strong thesis. We're talking about a claim that is not only arguable, but also genuinely interesting to your reader.
Let's revisit our friend George Washington for a second. This slide is a brilliant example of that room for debate we were talking about. You could argue he was an effective commander and point to his leadership in saving Braddock's army. Or you could argue he was ineffective and point to his failures at Fort Necessity. And here's the cool part. Both of these are totally valid arguments. You could write a fantastic paper on any one.
So a really strong thesis needs to do 3 key things. First, it's got to be as clear as possible. No confusion. Second, it needs to spark a little interest, make your reader lean in and go, okay, tell me more. And finally, like a rocket, it has to launch your entire explanation, giving it direction and momentum right from the start.
Let's look at another one, this time about invasive carp. This is a great thesis because it's so specific. It's not just carp are bad. It makes a clear 2-part claim. It tells us what happened, they spread and destroyed ecosystems, and how it happened by stripping away the algae and plants. It basically hands the writer a perfect 2-part structure for their paper.
Okay, so once you've built this amazing thesis, it becomes your best friend in the writing process. And that brings us to our final section. Your thesis is your guide. Seriously, think of it as the blueprint for your entire paper. This right here is the key takeaway. Without a thesis, all that research you did is just a big, messy pile of facts. But the moment you have that sharp, clear thesis, every single one of those facts gets a job. It becomes a piece of evidence that's working to support your bigger argument.
So think of it this way. Your thesis is your roadmap.
It organizes all your information. It helps you build logical bridges from one idea to the next. It anticipates what your reader is wondering. And it turns every little factoid into powerful evidence.
There's a quote in our source material that I absolutely love because it's so practical. As you're writing, you can just stop and ask, okay, if I were the reader, what would I need to know next to be convinced of my thesis? The answer to that question, well, that's your next paragraph.
So, I want to leave you with one final, super powerful question to ask yourself. The next time you sit down to write, have your thesis statement right there in front of you. And for every single sentence you type, ask, does this support my thesis? If the answer is yes, you're golden. You're not just throwing words on a page anymore. You're building a real, solid argument.